This is Genki L.6 Kanji. You can follow along by looking at page 312 and 313 in your textbook. Just wanted to go over a couple of things that perhaps you have forgotten. The onyomi is the Chinese reading, and that is going to be written in katakana. Makes sense that the onyomi would be written in katakana because Chinese is essentially the foreign sound of the kanji. The kunyomi is the Japanese reading. That's going to be written in hiragana. And remember that the on reading of the kanji is often used when the kanji is in a compound with another kanji. So for example, something we already know, mokuyobi, where moku is the Chinese or the on reading of that kanji. Whereas the kun reading is often used when the kanji is by itself. So here we have the kanji by itself, and it's read ki. Now this is not 100% rule, more like a 95% rule. Also, I wanted to go over the different stroke types because I think people get a little bit confused when they're writing kanji. There are 3 different stroke types. There's tomeru, which is like a stop, where the line stops at a clear end. Now, if you look over to the side here, you'll see, for example, with a, the first stroke here is a tomeru. You stop, you basically stop your pencil or pen. The second stroke is also a tomeru. The next type of stroke is harau. Harau is a tapered end where the line diminishes to a point. So the third stroke in a is haneru. I can't quite do it with my stylus. In any case, it's supposed to, sort of taper off as you lift your pencil. The third stroke is haneru, and this is the one I find most people miss. This is the hook, or what they call a jump, where the line is drawn up usually very quickly because it's coming up to go to another stroke over here. So in E, you lift up your pen, you make a hook, and you come over here, and that results in haneru or hane. So the first kanji is east, and this kanji is read higashi for the kun reading, or the kunyomi, and the onyomi is to with a long vowel. And you find it clearly then this one is higashi, which means east, higashi guchi, east exit, where this kanji we're learning a little bit later means exit or mouth. Also you find in things like Tokyo, right? So tou, kyou, Tokyo, and Kanto. The Kanto area is where Tokyo is located. In any case, the strategy for this kanji is that really it consists of a sun behind a tree. So think of it as the sun always rises in the east, and you can see that sun. If you look towards the east, if you're in front of a tree, it's going to look like you have the sun behind a tree. Okay? And we have a stroke order illustrated over here. So I'm going to do it over on this side over here. So we'll do ichi, ni, san, shi, go, roku. So this didn't quite make it over here. There we go. One of the things to remember, though, is that this stroke right here is one stroke. Okay, so when you're making that box in the middle, this is connected. It's not ichi, ni, san. It's ichi, ni, san, shi. This is the kanji for west. The kunyomi is nishi. The onyomi, we have 2 different ones, similar though, sei and sai. And over here we can see the words that we're learning. Nishi is for west. You have Nishiguchi. Again, this one we learned later in this PowerPoint, so west exit. And then you have Kansai. The Kansai area is like Osaka, Kobe. In any case, a good strategy, hopefully, for this one is a woman with her luggage heading west, where this has the shape of a square and then a handle right here. So think of this as the handle for the luggage. Now, here's the stroke order over here. And basically what you're doing is, the odd thing is, I find with this kanji, is that it's ichi, ni, san, shi, go, and roku. So notice that it's a little bit weird. I always want to write this like ichi, ni, san, but it doesn't quite make sense unless you do that square first before you draw these other two. So be careful of that. Also, like with 4, this has a little bit, I'm going to draw 4 here. So remember that 4 has a bit of an angle right here. So be careful of that. So when you're drawing nishi, same thing. So ichi, ni, san, shi, go, roku. So it has a bit of an angle right there. This kanji means south. And the kunyomi, the Japanese reading, is minami. The onyomi is nan. By itself, it's read minami, meaning south. And you have words like minami guchi, south exit. This next one is kind of interesting because it's Southeast Asia. So, of course, we're going to use the onyomi for both of these. So, to, nan, Asia. Tonan Asia is actually Southeast Asia, but in English we say Southeast. Notice that in Japanese they say East, South. There's not a really good strategy for this kanji, but here's one. They say if a bonsai faces south, it will bring good luck. So think of, so this part right here is the top of the bonsai, with a little foliage on top. And then you have kind of a container or a plant, or I guess a plant container. And then right here you have perhaps the roots. Let's take a look at the stroke order over here. You have ichi, ni, san, shi comes up with a hook. Go, roku, shichi, hachi, kyu. Remember that that part in the middle is not this. Remember, this is han, so this part in the middle does not go above. It just goes like this. Okay. This is a relatively easy one. This means north. The kunyomi is kita. The onyomis are hoku and ho with a small tsu there. And over here you can see it's used alone as kita, meaning north, kitaguchi, north exit, tohoku, which means the Tohoku area, which is northern Honshu, the very, very northern tip of Honshu. And then you have things like Hokkaido, where you have that ho plus small tsu there. The strategy for this one is it looks like two people sitting back to back. So you have this person over here. Also, you can think of somebody skiing and somebody sledding. So here's the face. Then you have this over here, and that hooks up. The stroke order for this one is over here. You can see it right there. Let's take a look at this kanji first of all. This one is not really representative of how to write this. So when you write it, you're going to go ichi, ni, san, shi, go, and hook. Okay, notice that I made this quite a bit different than the way this actually looks over here. That is because that is a font, so I don't want you to write it like this. That looks funny. So it's ichi, ni, san, shi, go, and then bring it up. But that should be just a little bit angled, but not too much. This is the easiest kanji we have for this chapter. It means mouth, and it is read guchi or kuchi for the kunyomi. And I forgot to put this in katakana, but it should be in katakana. Its onyomi is ko. Notice that these little nubbies should not really be there when you write it, so be careful of that. This font perhaps is not giving a very good indication of how to write this kanji, but by itself it's read kuchi, which means mouth. Then you have, this is kind of interesting, you have two kanji that look sort of alike. This one is person, so also read jin, if you remember. So jinko means literally population, or the number of people's mouths. And then you have this one here, this is iriguchi. Iriguchi means entrance, so these two kanji look alike, but we'll get to it later, how to draw that one. In any case, this is a pictograph of a mouth, how you look when you see a Gucci bag. And it has a very simple stroke order. It's ichi, ni, san. This is connected here, but I can't quite get it connected. There we go. The kanji for to exit, or deru, is also quite easy. It's read de or da for the kunyomi, shu or shutsu for the onyomi, and you see it in things like deru, to exit, deguchi, meaning exit, like the noun, dasu, to take something out. It also can mean to turn something in. So if I say shukudai o dashite kudasai, that means turn in your homework. You have shuseki, which means attendance. And you have things like yushutsu, which is to export something. The strategy for this is pretty easy. It's like two mountains exiting or coming out of the ground. So I always think of this as two mountains, one right on top of the other. And that is how you write it. It's go down for the first stroke here, then ni, san, yon, go. And there a lot of times is like a little bit of leftover right there. Migi, meaning right, is also a fairly easy kanji. Migi is the kunyomi. U and U with a long vowel are the onyomi. So by itself it's read migi. In combination with other kanji, you have things like usetsu, meaning right turn. You have sayu, which means right and left, and migigao, which means right side. The strategy here is pretty easy. Actually, this left-hand side, this portion right here, means hand. It's sort of a hand radical. And of course, then the other side is mouth. So you think about eating with your right hand, bringing food to your mouth, using your hand to bring food to your mouth. The stroke order for this is very easy. You have ichi, ni, san, shi, go. If we're going to do right, we have to do left as well. This is left. The kunyomi is hidari, and the onyomi is sa. So by itself, it's written, it's read hidari. With other kanji, you have sasetsu, like left turn, or hidari te. This should be te rather than de. And basically, if we think of this again, this radical here as hand, then the right-hand side is katakana e, but it actually means craft. So here we have a depiction of a swordsmaker, uses his left hand to hold the sword, while the right hand holds the hammer. And just like with right, you have similar stroke order, so ichi, ni, san, shi, go. This is the kanji that means birth, and we know it in quite a few compounds. It's read sei for the onyomi and sho, and for the kunyomi it's u. So you find this in kanji compounds like gakusei. You have sensei, umareru, to be born, and issho, meaning one's whole life. This is actually really a pictograph of a plant being born out of the earth. It has a stem. So here's your stem right here. Here's the ground, if you want to think of it that way. Then you have some branches. And here you have a little leaf right there. So being born out of the earth. The stroke order for this is kind of interesting. It starts out with the leaf. And then you have one of the branches coming over here. The next branch is a little bit shorter. And the next branch is slightly longer than that. And then you have the middle stem that comes down. Okay, so when you consider the length of these, remember it's slightly long, a little bit shorter, a little bit longer. Okay, don't make it too short in the middle because I've seen people do this before and that looks a little funny. So we've seen this one before in class when we practiced minutes. It means minutes or to divide, and it has a couple different readings because of the sound change. This is the onyomi, fun, bun, and pun. And also then the Japanese reading is wa for wakaru. So you find it in kanji combinations like gofun, jippun, jibun, and wakarimasu, where the karimasu, I always find this one difficult because I always forget that this part right here is included in the hiragana at the end, the okurigana. And then just recently we talked about setsubun as well, where setsu means season and bun means the division, so the division of the seasons. This one actually depicts a knife. This is the knife right here, dividing something into 8 pieces where you have the kanji for 8. And stroke order is pretty easy here. It's 8, and then you have the knife right here. Be careful, this knife looks a lot like ka, but it's not this. Okay, so be careful not to include that, for example. Okay, in addition to kuchi, this is the easiest kanji in this lesson. It means big, and it is read for the onyomi dai or tai. And then, sorry, this got covered up somehow, but it's o for oki. And you find it in kanji combinations like daigakusei or oki or otona, which means adult. And this quite simply is a pictograph of a person making themselves as big as they can. So stretching out their arms and legs. And the stroke order for this one is just ichi, ni, san. This next one is the kanji for gaku. And that is the onyomi, gaku or ga. And then the kunyomi got kind of covered up over here. So it's mana. It's part of manabu. We find this in kanji like daigaku, gakko, gakubu, which means department or faculty, and manabu, which means to learn. The strategy for this is kind of easy and actually teaches you another kanji. So the kanji for child is this right here, and that's what's in the middle of this kanji. The top part of the kanji is like it's katakana tsu, but it's kind of cut off. So it's not quite full katakana tsu where you would like put that extra long stroke there. It's kind of short. And then you have this part right here. So it kind of represents like a hat, like a thinking hat, a child who's wearing a thinking hat, studying something. This kanji means outside. The onyomi is gai, the kunyomi is soto. So you find this in kanji combinations like gaikoku, which means foreign country, or gaikokujin, foreigner. Kaigai means overseas, and by itself it's soto, which means outside. This is made up really of the katakana ta and katakana to. This is a strategy I made up. So tato is a guy who is a foreigner. So gai is obviously meant to invoke the sound or the onyomi of this kanji. So writing it's quite easy. You're just going to write ta and then to. All right, last one. This one is country, means country. The onyomi, the Chinese reading is koku or goku. The Japanese reading or the kunyomi is read kuni. So you get this like gaikoku, foreign country, chugoku, so the country that is in the middle of everything, or the center, kankoku for Korea, and by itself it's read kuni. Now this kanji is actually made up of 2 radicals. There's the radical for boundaries, which is the square around the outside, and on the inside it has the radical or the kanji for jewels. So countries used to protect their jewels by keeping them inside the country boundaries. The stroke order for this one is pretty interesting because you don't complete the square. You start with ichi, ni, san, shi, go, roku, shichi over here, and then kyu. Okay, so you complete the square in the very last stroke. I like to think of this as a pictograph of, it's a country, it's a small little country, it's a square, and the lines in the middle are like streets. And there is one building marked on the map, which is right here.